Hello grade 6 students, you are watching Delta Educational Channel. We are going to present 5A grammar. It's about past perfect and past perfect continuous. Let's start with past perfect. The first thing to know about past perfect is the form of past perfect. But before knowing the form, we have to differentiate between regular verbs and irregular verbs. Of course, we know that each verb has three forms. For example, play, played, played, help, helped, helped. If these verbs are irregular, we have to memorize these verbs very well, like go, went, gone, eat, ate, eaten, do, did, done, and so on. So we have to memorize, please, the irregular verbs very well. About the form of past perfect, it consists of the subject plus had plus past participle. For example, by 2010 I had bought a new car. By 3 p.m. yesterday, Yara had cooked lunch. Now let's move to the usage of past perfect. We use past perfect for an action that happened before another action in the past. Of course, the action which happened first is in the past perfect. The other action is in the past simple. We use past perfect with some keywords like after and before and by the time. Let's start with after. After followed by past perfect. The second sentence must be in past simple. For example, after I had done my homework, I watched TV. We can use after in the middle of the two sentences. For example, I watched TV after I had done my homework. Before and by the time followed by past simple. The second sentence must be in past perfect. I did my homework, then I watched TV. To answer this question, we have to determine where is the first action first. Why? To change it into past perfect. So the answer here is, before I watched TV, I had done my homework. By the time I was 12, I had learned swimming. How to form the negative in past perfect using hadn't plus past participle. I hadn't tidied my room by 3 yesterday. How to form the question. We start with had. The second step is to use the subject, then past participle. For example, had you done your homework by 5 yesterday? If you want to form a question using a question word, it's very easy. Just we put the question word at the beginning of the sentence, then we use the same order. For example, what had he studied by 2 yesterday? Now, let's move to past perfect continuous. The form of past perfect continuous. Subject plus had plus been plus verb with ing. Again, subject plus had plus been plus verb with ing. We can use past perfect continuous with some keywords like since, for, before, how long, all. The usage of past perfect continuous. We use past perfect continuous for an action that had been happening for a period of time before another action in the past. Here we focus on the duration of the action. For example, I had been studying math for 2 hours before I went out. Mom had been cooking for 3 hours when Dad arrived home. Another usage for past perfect continuous, we use it for an action which finished in the past and whose results were visible in the past. In the past. For example, Dad looked tired. He had been working all morning. Dad looked tired. He had been working all morning. Hani was breathless as he had been running. So note that the result of the action is clear in these two examples. How to answer a rewrite question related to past perfect continuous. For example, they had been playing tennis all morning, so they are exhausted. Use had, so we have to change present perfect continuous into past perfect continuous and the present simple into past simple. So the answer here is they had been playing tennis all morning, so they were exhausted. How to form the question? Question word plus had plus subject plus being plus verb of ing. They had been watching TV for 2 hours before their dad arrived. The answer, how long had they been watching TV before their dad arrived? Now, let's move to our student book, page 51, exercise number 8. Write sentences as in the example. Number 1, she went to her mom's office, but she wasn't there. The answer is she had gone out. We use past perfect. Number 2, he didn't want to eat. He already had lunch. We want to change, or we want to form this sentence in the past perfect. So the answer is he had already had lunch. We visited Anne, but Tom couldn't come. He arranged to meet Jane. So the answer here is he had arranged to meet Jane. Number 4, Helen didn't come to the cinema with us. She see the film before. So we want to change this sentence, or we want to form this sentence in the past perfect. So the answer is she had seen the film before. When Liam came, Bob wasn't there. He leave. So here the answer is he had left. Number 6, there were no more biscuits. John ate them all. The answer, John had eaten them all. Exercise number 9, use the past perfect continuous to complete the sentences. Number 1, Steve had been catching crocodiles since he was 10. Of course, this is the answer. Number 2, Steve worked in the zoo for years before he took over. We want to change, or we want to put the verb work into past perfect continuous. So the answer is Steve had been working in the zoo for years before he took over. Number 3, Terry go out with Steve for a few months when they decided to get married. The answer is Terry had been going. Number 4, Steve hosts nature shows for a long time before he had his accident. The answer here is Steve had been hosting. Now let's move to our Superland sheet, page 18. Underline the correct word between brackets. Number 1, after the boys had have finished the game, they had ice cream. Of course, at the beginning of the sentence he used after, so the answer here is had finished, because after followed by past perfect. The second sentence, we went to the park while before. By the time after we had done the homework. The answer is after. Number 3, Sama had a shower. By the time she leaves, had left leaving for work. The answer is left because by the time followed by past simple. Number 4, of course the answer is had. You brushed your teeth before you went to bed. Number 5, before Iman cleaned up the kitchen, she had has cooked lunch. The answer is had cooked. Number 6, after it had stopped raining, we had completed the training session. The answer is completed. Number 7, by the time the police arrived, there is, where, had been, or no sign of the robbers. Of course, the answer is had been. Number 8, by the way, after, before, while Omar had breakfast, he had ironed his shirt. The answer is before, because it's followed by past symbol. Number 9, my sister had passed the driving test before that. Bought, had bought, buys is buying here a car. Of course, the answer is bought. Number 10, the train leaves, has left, had left, will leave by the time we reach the station. The answer is had left. Number 11, Adam's clothes were wet as he, the answer is had been washing the car yesterday. Here the results of the verb is or was visible. So we choose or had been. Number 12, the boys had been played all day yesterday, so they came home tired and dirty. The answer is being playing. Number 13, Malik had a headache because he had studied, had been studying, has been studying, has studied all night last Friday. Of course, the answer is had been studying. Number 14, the road is, was, has been, will be slippery as it had been snowing for hours. Of course, the answer is was. Now, let's answer some rewrite questions. Number 1, he saw the thieves leaving the shop, then he called the police using after. Of course, as I told you, we have to determine where is the first action to change it from past simple into past perfect. The answer is after he had seen the thieves leaving the shop, he called the police. Number 2, first I fed the bits, next I mowed the lawn. The answer is by the time I mowed the lawn, I had fed the bits. Number 3, before they left the class, they had arranged their chairs. Use after. I think it's very easy. After they had arranged their chairs, they left the class. Number 4, Shahd handed out her paper after she had revised her answers. Use before. The answer is Shahd had revised her answers before she handed out her paper. Number 5, Muhammad had slept by the time we came from the party. Use after. The answer is we came from the party after Muhammad had slept. Mom made breakfast, then she woke us up. Use before. Before Mom woke us up, she had made breakfast. Number 7, first she gave a speech, next she went to celebrate. Use after. The answer is she went to celebrate after she had given a speech. Number 8, by the time I sent the email, I had attached some pictures. Use after. The answer is I sent the email after I had attached some picture. Mazen had been driving for 2 days when he got lost. How long? How long had Mazen been driving when he got lost? Mom is exhausted. She has been cleaning up all day. Use Mom was. The answer, Mom was exhausted. She had been cleaning up all day. Number 11, she had studied all her lessons by 8 o'clock yesterday. Use not. She hadn't studied all her lessons by 8 o'clock yesterday. Question number 3, find the mistake in each of the following sentences and write the correct word in brackets. Number 1, after she had go shopping, she went to the hairdressers. Of course, the mistake is in the word or the verb go, and the answer is gone. It must be after she had gone. Number 2, Minna had watched the show after she phoned Hannah. the mistake here is in after, because we should use before. By the time the match ends, we had left the stadium. The mistake is in the verb ends. It must be ended, because by the time must be followed by the past simple. He waited for an hour before the bus arrived. Of course, the mistake is in waited. It must be had been waiting. Thanks.